Hey guys, welcome back to What Is That Sound? Before we get started, scroll down, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell that I think is either here or here, depending where the video is. But yeah, go ahead and do that. Lets me know you guys enjoy the content I'm putting out. Lets me know you guys enjoy the videos. Also, go down, scroll down a little bit more. There you go. Put a comment of what kind of sound you want to see me do next, and I'll probably do it. Like, for example, this episode is going to be on how to get synth drums out of a synthesizer, analog or virtual analog, or, VST or whatever you may have. How to get synth drums from a synthesizer, and that was suggested to me by Eric Hanscom. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. He commented he wanted to see synth drums. But yeah, go comment what you want to see next, and I'll probably do a video on it. But yeah, that's everything. Like, subscribe, notification, comments. Yeah, that's everything covered. Hope you guys enjoy the video, and see you later. Hit the intro. Now with the self-promotion out of the way, let's get right into the sounds. Again, thank you to Eric Hanscom, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, for the video idea of making synth drums out of a synthesizer. Now, for most of these sounds to work, you're going to need a synth that can self-resonate. Self-resonate like we've gone over in previous videos. If I put the resonance all the way up, and then just play with the cutoff. See how it makes that really high-pitched noise? That's basically the filter self-oscillating. If you put the resonance all the way up on some synths, that's what happens. Again, some synths don't have that, but for some of these sounds, you are going to need that for these to work. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go by drum on a typical, electronic set that is mostly used in like modern pop, modern hip-hop, stuff like that. So we're going to go over the kick drum, the snare drum, the hi-hat, and then some toms. And yeah, at the end, I'll put them all together to show you what they sound like in context. Let's get right into it by starting with the kick drum. Now to start with the kick drum, you're going to need to turn all the oscillators you have on your synth completely off. This is the first one that's going to need your filter to be able to self-oscillate for it to be able to work. So yeah, right now you're just going to turn every oscillator off because we're just going to deal with the oscillation that comes from the filter. Just make sure everything's off. Next, we're going to go ahead and put the resonance all the way up. And then the filter down to about 25%. You're not going to hear a sound yet, but you will after this next step. We're going to take the envelope amount, and we're going to put it slightly above 25%. Right now, whatever note you play will sound the same. So how we're going to fix that is we're going to go into the filter envelope generator. We're going to have no attack at about 1/8 of decay. Put the sustain all the way down, and we're going to have absolutely no release. And for the amplitude envelope generator, we're going to have a simple on-off generator, no attack, no decay, max sustain, and then no release. And this is what it sounds like. It sounds like a kick drum. If you're not getting sound, or you're getting something that's a little bit too lasery, like you hear in my How to Make Lasers video, go check that one out after this one. You can play with the envelope amount and get the perfect amount of envelope to get a kick drum. Right there sounds perfect. And right now for me, the envelope amount is set at a little bit more than a quarter, I'm sorry. A little bit more than a quarter. Yeah, and it'll get a solid bass drum sound. And that's how you get the kick drum sound. Now let's go on to the snare drum. For the snare, you're going to need to use a noise source or a noise oscillator, whatever you call it. Most synths now have this. It basically just emits white noise. And that's a bit harsh now, but we're going to slowly morph it into a snare sound by going to the filter section and putting it between 50% and 75%. I have it directly in between them. Again, your synth may be different, so it's about between 50% and 75%. We're going to do no resonance, so put your resonance all the way down. We're going to put the keyboard tracking all the way up, and the envelope amount to about 50%, and this is what it sounds like right now. Not much different. It's a little bit duller, but yeah, let's move on to the filter envelope. For the filter envelope, we're going to go about 1/8 of decay, no sustain, and then I'd say about 1/4 of release. We don't have to touch the attack at all. And for the amplitude envelope generator, we're just going to add a little touch of delay until we get that sort of snare sound. And then also we're going to put it on a bit of 1/8 of release. And again, you're going to have to adjust the parameters based on your synth, but you basically just have to play with it until it sort of sounds like a snare drum. I'm sorry, you have to also put the sustain all the way down for the amplitude envelope generator. There you go. You got a sort of analog snare sound. I mean, it doesn't sound exactly like a snare, but with like old drum machines and stuff, this is basically all they had, so this is the closest we're gonna get. But yeah, it's serviceable if you want to go a bit retro, a bit 80s with it. And yeah, let's move on to the hi-hat. So the hi-hat is very similar to the snare sound. We're going to take the noise generator, put it all the way up. Just start with a little bit of noise, and then it's actually pretty easy from there. You don't want to touch the filter really at all. Make sure the filter is all the way wide open. The resonance is completely out. And just, you can honestly put the envelope amount. Well, I put the envelope amount at 0 because it's a little bit easier. And then I'm going to put the keyboard tracking all the way down. But where the hi-hat really comes in is in the envelope generators, specifically the amplitude envelope generator. For the filter envelope generator, you can keep it as a simple on-off generator. No attack, no decay, no release, and max sustain. For the amplitude envelope generator, it's a little bit different. We're going to have no attack, we're going to put the sustain all the way down, no release, and then with the decay, you're just going to move it until you get just enough sound to get a hi-hat sound. Honestly, you could just leave it with that click if you want. If you want something really analog, you can just leave that click. But I like to add a little bit of the noise to make it more hi-hatty. And you see how if you put the decay up too much, it starts to sound more like a snare drum, but if you put it just enough, it sounds like an analog hi-hat. And there you go. Now we're going to move on to the toms. Now the toms is probably the hardest of the drums to dial in because you really have to sort of know what you're doing to get this tom sound. But let me show you how I set up all the parameters to get a tom sound that I like. Again, you can change some of these parameters to give it a different sort of sound, whatever you think your song calls for, or whatever you personally like. This is going to be very similar to the kick. To get a tom sound, you really need a self-oscillating filter. So we're going to go and put the resonance all the way up. And then we're going to go put the filter at about between 25.5. Again, you can change that based on how you want the tom to sound, but this is how I like to have it set. We're going to put the envelope amount up about 1/4, and then we're going to set the keyboard tracking to about 1/2. It's getting that sort of self-oscillating sound at the moment, but the envelope generators will change that. Both envelope generators will be exactly the same for this sound. You're going to put no attack, dial the decay to about 1/8. Again, like I said before, all these parameters can be changed depending on how you want the tom drum to sound like, or if you want to get different sound effects. And then we're going to put no sustain And this is what it sounds like. Now if you want, you can play with the envelope amount, and it changes the sound of the toms. You can even play with the decay, get a little bit of a shorter decay. Play with the cutoff a little bit, but yeah, you can tweak this really any way you want. The main knobs are going to be the cutoff knob, the envelope amount, and the decay to really get a nice tom sound. But yeah, you can play with all these parameters and get all sorts of weird sound effects. For example, like I mentioned before, if you bring the decay up a little bit and the envelope amount up, you'll get laser sounds. Go check out the Star Wars video on how to get that. But yeah, that's the last drum sound we're going to go over. Let me show you how these drum sounds sound in context to a song. But yeah, that's how you go about making drum sounds on an analog type style synthesizer. Again, if you're looking for exact like samples or exact things that sound like real drums, you're really not going to get it with this kind of style drum sounds. That you're going to have to go to a sampler or to some other kind of thing to get drum sounds. But this is how you get like classic 70s, 80s analog drum sounds like you hear on something like an 808, 707, 606, those type of things. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the jam. Again, go down, like, and subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye.